Hey, gang, and welcome back. This is episode 2. In today's episode, good news. I got a new camera. It's better. It's not fantastic, but I still have a ton to learn about shooting film while trying to paint models. Autofocus is not your friend. I was hoping to do this long form with very few breaks in it, but some of the footage is just such garbage that I'm still going to be cutting a lot out, but I'll get better at that soon. I found out the hard way that not being able to see what you're shooting while you're working is pretty rough, so I'm going to have to get a monitor of some sort so I can at least pay attention and see when things get out of frame. More news on that in the future. But I can work and talk at the same time, which is a step in the right direction. Today we're working on our second practice model. It's the same model as the first one, but I'm starting to dip into like actual base coats and washes and the magic that happens. It's a crazy amount of fun. I also learned a little bit about different paint types the hard way, and have subsequently done some research to sort that stuff out. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about Army, and I definitely am going to want to build some tanks at some point, so we'll see how that fits into the whole thing. So let's get underway. This is 0 to 40K. So you recognize the guy on the left as who we painted last episode. Basically just got some weird base coating stuff after a prime of Death Guard Green. Then I dry brushed over it, and I thought it was pretty cool. Still do. Moving forward, same model, but with a different primer coat of black. We're going to use some relatively basic colors as our quote-unquote base, and we'll go from there. And we're ready to get started. So I'm going to just hit this guy a pretty reasonable coat of this glop. So as I look at it, it looks like it's the same thing that I used on the other guy, but I can already tell just looking at what primer I have on there, how much different it's shining through. I'm wondering if I'm a little bit thin, but who knows. I'm going to thicken this up a little bit and then over thicken it and then thin it back out again. And that is, yeah, that's pretty thick. Alright, so our first sort of foray into this is that looks significantly, and obviously it's going to have to dry and whatever. It's a very different look. I'm not even sure that that's the same thing. Oh boy. Could have been Retributor armor? I don't know. Well, we're just going to keep on going with this. So I've got a lot of armor to paint to start. Most of what I'm doing will be very similar to last time. Get some of the glop off of here. Go over with the brush to sort of pick some of this schlop up. Because man, did I lay it on there. Okay, you got all kinds of brush marky stuff, but that's cool. Alright. Schlop that on. Definitely a different look for this right out the gate. I could probably go and do some color this time around to actually hit the lightning bolt, which would be a nice challenge because last time I guess I kind of played it easy by skipping that and just in my fatigued, crazed, excited state, I kind of ignored some detail that would be a lot of fun. So I could see taking another stab at this exact same model means I've got another chance to do something cool that I didn't the first time without going back and undoing my previous work. So all of this is getting
treatment. I'm going to try to avoid as best I can. The sword, the belt, I'm not going to worry too much if I hit it, because I think brown over this will be fine. Famous last words. Captain Goldsmith is off to the races, just painting away. And the first time around I was pretty careful, maybe too careful. I was so worried about glopping it on that even though all I was doing was a base coat, it was pretty thin. So I'm going to worry a little less about that this time. I'm still going to try to keep my paint itself thin, but I'm not going to be afraid to go over it a little bit more assertively. You know, the first model you do, there's this tendency to where you feel like every last little thing you do, every last little scooch of paint is super important. And it is, but it's not that important. There's room to recover. There's much more to do. Every last brush stroke isn't the end of the world. And this time I'm actually treating this like it's a base coat instead of the end coat. Pardon me there. That's going to be interesting. That sash, because if you look, and obviously I could move it back, but I squared up his shield a little bit differently between the two of them. So the new model, he sort of got his arm back a little bit. I figured I'd do that to see how the process of painting was a little bit different. With a different pose. Maybe pose some, pardon the pun, pose some new challenges or not. You know, when I get into my real army, instead of just the clone army of, I don't know, I still haven't thought of a name for the original, but clone army of these spear and shield dudes, when you get down to it, you know, there's a lot of opportunity to try a lot of cool stuff. And then try it again. And then try it again, and again, and again, and again, because you get so many models. There's like the temptation to do all all tiny little infantry guys. That just sounds insane. I know that at some point that was like the rage. I don't know at what point in the history of the game that was the thing, but yeah, look at that. Yeah, whatever. You're good, buddy. But I am definitely going to need some big boy models to eat up some of this work. And I've been thinking about that quite a bit lately. Crazy. Okay, so this guy looks sufficiently metally. I still got to get this little section there. But he looks alright. There's a couple little dingleberry spots that are non-great, but I don't have any ill feelings about this soldier. Alright. Ah. Touché. That part of the shield is virtually untouched. So let's virtually touch it. You just constantly do some work, spin the guy around, check out some other angles. There's always stuff hiding. And honestly, I still have yet to do any crazy detailed work. Like tiny stuff like I'm going to do with the lightning bolt there, and looks like a face of some dude on that side. I'll do some cool stuff with the shield eventually. Oh, I didn't get that part. But as you turn it around, you just keep finding these spots where you never quite got in there. There we go. That looks okay. I really need to get one of those stands that you hold this guy on. Holding it by the base does not cut it at all. So eventually I'm going to pick some crazy colorization for the shield and for the symbols. I might try to leave the shiny on the outside and just paint color on the parts that are recessed and just inside that line. Do the same with the pauldrons. Should give them knee pads. That'd be pretty funny. Rock out some knee pads. Why not? Why not, says I. I'm trying to get this little scabbard thing a little better colored. Not perfectly, but good enough for rock and roll. Alright, so he's got some brown. I'm going to try to hit this strap. Oh, the strap. I don't think I hit the strap on the last one. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. That looks like maximum effort to me. Alright. I'm going to wash this off. I'm going to grab a fresh toothpick because I'm not going to be stupid about things. In a minute, we'll mix some weird green. Alright, well, it looks reasonably shiny. I'm happy so far. I am going to decided I'm going to mix up some weird green. And I need to find some solution better than a toothpick, because a toothpick picks up almost nothing. But I'll worry about that another time. I'm going to switch this guy to one of these jobbies. Alright, so here's a pile of blue. Glop, glop, glop. I almost feel like a Q-tip would be better. Or flat toothpicks. That might do it. Alright, so I got a bunch of blue. And I'm going to grab another toothpick this time. I'm going to try to treat this professional-like. Grab some yellow. And if I was doing a bunch of models, which at some point I will, then I'd want to actually be paying much more close attention to how much paint I'm using to mix. But right now, I'm just going with feel. So I'm not too worried about it. Let's see where this gets us. I need a lot more yellow, good lord. That's going to need a crud ton more yellow. Do I have something? I'm going to just go for it. Is that famous last words? It is famous last words. We're going to do it anyway. Did I lose him? Where'd my other brush go? Where did my other brush go? It's hiding in plain sight, of course. Give this guy a swizzle. Get all the other crud off of him. And then I'm just going to dip. Now the neat thing is I'm not actually using straight up yellow for anything but this kind of weird shenanigans. Oh my god. How much yellow? A lot of yellow. I probably should have just dipped the blue over there. Alright, so this is a very ugly, not so amazing green. Which is probably for the best, but I think I'm going to tune it up a little bit. I'm going to add, I'm going to grab. Remember all that talk about having yellow, blue, and green? You can make whatever you want. Yeah, well, you actually have to know how to do it, which I don't. But yeah, let's get in here with a toothpick. Some nice, there's a bunch of clumpy stuff all around the edge, even after you shake it. And that, I'm guessing, is where the real gravy is. Yeah. Temptation to dip that back in there is high, but if if I got any blue on it, I'd be wrecking the whole bottle, which I don't want to do. So let's get a bunch of that in there. And I'm going to have so much paint on this thing to wash off. Alright, so that is a very not impressive military green. It's strangely... I feel like this is something. It strangely looks like that, almost exactly, which is not what I wanted. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do to fix it, but I'm going to do something. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to say YOLO, and I'm going to mix this absolutely wild Tesseract glow to it. Try to resurrect it. I imagine many an artist has gotten themselves into this kind of mess before. And then you just keep adding paints. That's definitely what I did as a child. And you just sort of pray you'll find your way out. I don't think that actually ever happens. Oh my god. Oh, that'll do it. This is a lot thinner. This is technical, whatever that means. Oh boy. No. Going deep. That was a screw up. But maybe it'll turn into something funky. Oh my god, that just absolutely gobbled up every last bit of pigment that was in here. That is like a commitment color right there. That whole cup is just, it's literally just gobbling up the rest of the paint like it doesn't even exist. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, I have darkened it, which is good. I can see a bunch of blue glops in there, which don't want to stir in at all. But I got a much different green out of it. This is going to look weird. And that's fine. It's a good lesson. Man, that technical paint is thin. I should actually look up what these descriptions of paint mean. That, you know, measure twice, cut once kind of thing. But that is something. It is certainly something. All right. Oh, man. I deserve that.
not gonna lie to you, this is the coolest thing ever. I just let the thing cook overnight, came back, took some pictures of it, and I absolutely, even knowing that I made a ton of mistakes, I did a pile of things I would do differently. I love this guy. I started using some techniques in terms of actually understanding the bit, like bases versus washes and all that. I took my time. Uh, I rolled with it when I mixed a pretty horrific green color, and in the end, like, this guy is awesome. I want to do a lot more of these, and I'm gonna. So we're gonna talk, pretty briefly about some army strategy stuff that is mostly moot, because 10th edition's coming out, but some future thoughts. But coming up next, I'm gonna do 30, I think it is, Poxwalkers, and hopefully I'll be a little bit more deliberate, have a plan in mind, execute on it, and let's see how it goes. So let's talk army. I know that I need to make a 2,000 point army, and I know that that's really not a number I need to pay too much attention to, because the rules are changing, they're getting updated in a few months. But everything's relative. I don't think Plague Marines are going to magically cost 500 apiece, so I can at least start working with soft clay in this regard. I have Plague Marines, and I'm going to use them. Between the what is it called, the Combat Patrol box that I got, there's 7 in there with a champion, and then I have another separate box that I think is just another 7 total. One of them is a champion. I can put some Plague Marines in the field, so I'm going to do that. They seem like a great backbone of an army, and I need to learn to use them, so that's a good start. I have a pile of Poxwalkers, I think 30 of them, which I'm going to at least start painting next episode, so they get to be in my army. How many of them, I don't know. I think they cap at 20 in a unit, so it's either going to be 20 or I'll get more of them if I love them so much. But I do need something that I can throw out there without too much terrible concern and attachment for if they get all shot up. So they sound perfect. They don't complain. When they get all beat up, they don't have a crazy number of different weapon choices from what I've seen. In fact, I think they just punchy. They kind of just show up with stuff from the junkyard. So I'm definitely going to have a unit of those in my army. I have a Typhus, who is very important. I've heard about him in the lore things that I've been listening to while I work on YouTube, and looking up his data sheet. He does a crap ton of stuff, so I think he's probably going to be my leader of some sort. He does psyker stuff, has his own crazy aura, so he's definitely in, and I have the model, so that's an easy choice right there. I want to paint some tanks. I want to paint something that's big enough for me to stare at it and not have my vision go blurry. I want to do some. I love tanks. Tanks are so awesome. So I'm definitely going to have at least one Plague Burst crawler. I might do more of them. I saw a really awesome picture on Reddit today from someone named, what was their name? I wrote it down. Upper Camel. It's like a super classy paint job. It just looks cool. So I'm definitely going to pick up one of these. I don't have one yet, but I want to make sure that I don't just have tiny little guys running across the map. I want some kind of big chunky things that can maybe be a threat from afar, and that should be like interesting paint work to learn some other skills with. And finally, for now at least, I'll keep planning this out and catching up with my model painting. I know I need some more leader type models. A bunch of the videos that I've watched, which admittedly have not been Death Guard, it's most Marines are running out there with a lieutenant or a captain, and it sounds like with Death Guard they just have rad names. There's some guy with like an abacus who's like a tally man or whatever. Sounds neat, but I know that I need to fill things out with some more chaperones for my guys. So those will be kind of next steps as well when I go back to the shop and pick up some more models. Thanks a bunch. That about does it for this episode. Looking forward, I've got a pretty awesome to-do list. I've got 30 Poxwalkers burning a hole in my pocket. As much as that number 30 is crazy daunting, next episode I'm going to get started painting those 30 Poxwalkers. I've got a lot of research to do, but I think this model set is going to be a great test. For starters, they're going in my army, so I have to have some intent here, and I'm going to try to do this for real. But also, just the set that you get with the Combat Patrol, the 30 of them, it's basically 10 trios of the same model. And looking at the models, still sitting in the sprue, they have crazy different weapons. Some of them have, like, metallics on their face. It's going to give me a great opportunity to try a bunch of different things, but not in a throwaway sense. Like, try a bunch and learn for real. And if I'm gonna really dive in with these Poxwalkers, additionally, I really need to learn how to properly record my work so that it's nice and clear. Not only for posterity, but I don't want to torture you guys with cruddy, blurry camera stuff. So I'm going to take some time, do some research, and also just do some work in front of the camera, not intended for cutting for this, just with the intent of learning how to use the camera the right way, take good recordings, and a little bit of audio work as well. Lastly, it's time to hit the books, mostly in terms of paint. It's been absolutely hilarious and fun learning as I go and mixing on the fly. But I'd like to pick up some paints that make sense for what I'm doing with these Poxwalkers. These are kind of the entry level before I start getting into Plague Marines and champions and heroic characters and someday tanks. So this is my chance to try things with a lot of intent. So I'm going to do a lot of internet searches and watching videos, and the ones that feed into what I end up doing, I'll certainly share those. But I really want to make sure that when I sink my teeth into this big next task, that I have the confidence that I at least can do a good job, and that I'm not totally winging it. Thanks again for hanging out and joining me on the first few little tiny steps of this epic journey. If you've got any cool stories to share about the first models you ever painted, or if you've got places to point me at in terms of how folks have made awesome Poxwalkers, that'd be great to see in the comments. I got some research to do, but hopefully the next episode will be coming soon, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye.